Hello there. Today I'm here to spill the tea on becoming a mother, much like my son does whenever he reaches for my cup and causes me to spill the tea all over him and myself. But don't worry, it's never hot. Mother's tea is never hot. Nice and cold. Hi everyone, my name is Aaliyah and welcome to my channel. And happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Y'all are doing amazing. My son and I are celebrating our first Mother's Day together since he's been Earthside. It's been an amazing 7 months. I ask you all over on Instagram some questions that you have about motherhood and becoming a mom, and I'm here today to answer some of those questions for you. So one of the questions that I got asked the most was, how did I know that I was ready to become a mom? I don't feel like there's any sure way to know, honestly. I don't think that there's a big aha moment where you're just like, oh yeah, for sure, I'm ready for this, let's do this kind of thing. It was more so I wasn't afraid to become a mom. Not that becoming a mom ever was inherently scary to me or like was something that kind of made me feel uncomfortable, but I had a lot of things that I wanted to do, and I had my lifestyle and all these kind of goals that I was achieving at the time. It wasn't a strong desire for me at that point. But then I had this one bout of baby fever where afterwards, it wasn't that I was like, I want to have a baby, but it was more like, I don't not want to have a baby. Whereas before, it would always be like, you know, I would have baby fever and then it would go away, and then I would just be like, oh, what was I thinking? I do not want to have a baby. But this time it was kind of more like, having a baby doesn't sound bad. Maybe, possibly. And then I just stopped really caring about my birth control, and then voila, I got pregnant. So if you're waiting for this like big aha moment that you're gonna be like, I want to be a mom and I want to have a baby, from what I know and from the experience of most of the people that I know that have become moms, it wasn't some big aha moment. And even for people that they have had like really strong baby fever that was like not subsiding and was just like really continuous, even with those people, once they got pregnant, they were like, wait, did I want this? Wait a minute, am I ready? I think that's really normal for that to happen, where you don't really fully 100% know or feel like you're ready until the moment arrives. The next question was, what were you most looking forward to about becoming a mother, and what were you the most worried about? So I think as far as what I was looking forward to the most, I think they were the typical things: holding my baby, being around my baby, you know, bonding with my baby, just like a cute little baby, and just like imagining my baby. So really typical stuff. And then as far as my worries go, I had a lot of anxiety about having postpartum depression. I was worried about not being able to bond with my baby and having feelings of just like regret. I was worried that I would feel like my life had changed too much and I wasn't ready for it once the baby came. And I wouldn't have a good quality of life because I wouldn't have time for myself, and I would need a lot of time for myself, and I wouldn't be able to get it anymore because I had a baby. So I was just generally worried about being able to bond correctly with my baby and my quality of life. But once my baby came, everything changed instantaneously. It was like a flip switch. I was no longer worried about it. I was so ready to just completely engulf myself in him, more so than I even thought was possible. Like, I can genuinely say that I really did not care to like not have time to myself. I wanted him with me all the time. Actually, that was something that like I had to kind of work on myself with, because I could not be in a different room than him. So definitely it completely changed 180 once I had my baby, and it all worked out. The next question was, what has been the hardest thing that I've had to deal with since becoming a mom? So there's quite a few of them. I think motherhood is a continuous stream of adaptations. Your baby is constantly changing, physically and mentally, and so you're constantly trying to keep up with those changes. But the first thing that comes to mind is definitely breastfeeding. In the beginning, it was really hard because my son was an emergency C-section and he lost a lot of weight. So I was dealing with healing from my C-section, and then I was having to pump and do feedings like around the clock. I didn't want to give him formula, so I was supplementing with breast milk. I was constantly anxious about his weight, and I would get nervous if he went like 2 hours without feeding. And most of the time I would pump, which would take like 15 to 30 minutes, and sometimes I wasn't able to express any milk, so I'd have to like keep on going at it until I got some. And then I had a lot of ups and downs, like my milk came in really well and then I just like lost it, and it was a really devastating time for me, and I had to work really hard to get my supply to come back. It was a constant cycle of just like nursing, supplementing, and I was supplementing him at the breast, so we would get a syringe, and as he was nursing we were trying to get him to take like the extra amount that he needed to be supplemented with, because I did not want him to have a bottle. I'll have to make a whole other video on my postpartum journey because that was like a whole other thing on its own. Yeah, that was definitely like really, really hard, just getting his weight back up. He was 5 pounds when we brought him home, and those first weeks were really difficult trying to get his weight back up and like pumping and trying to heal and trying to adjust to being a new parent and so many things. The next thing that has been kind of hard is his sleep. My dear son does not sleep well at all. He is almost 8 months and he still primarily needs to nurse to sleep, and sometimes he wants to nurse through the whole night. He went through a period when he was about 4 months where he was going to sleep at like 4 in the morning sometimes. It was like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. I got to a point where I was just like, this is just not a quality of life, because he wouldn't sleep unless I was with him. So I ended up having to like be sleeping in with him until like 12 o'clock because he wasn't going to sleep until 1, and he wanted like 12 hours of sleep, 11 to 12 hours of sleep. I was feeling like really out of sorts because I just felt like really groggy and just like not myself from like having to wake up so late and go to sleep so late every night. So I worked really hard and set up like a bedtime routine. Every night, like at 8:45, I would start giving him a bath, lotion, bedtime. But then the hard part was that sometimes I myself was not ready to go to sleep, but he will not sleep unless I'm next to him. It's very, very rare that he will sleep without me next to him. So sometimes I will not be ready to sleep, but like I just have to sleep if I want him to sleep. That's a bit hard sometimes because I don't like to be laying down if I'm not ready for bed. It just starts making me feel really restless because I also have problems with sleep. So that's definitely something that we've been wrestling with for the past 8 months. Another really hard thing, which I never expected to even be a hard thing, is getting him to start solids. It never even crossed my mind that he would refuse solids. He has texture issues, so he does not like food in his mouth. He does not like the feeling of food in his mouth. So it's something that I've been really struggling with and working towards getting him more accustomed to. And some days I feel completely defeated because like it's supposed to be this fun new experience and it's absolutely miserable. I get no joy from feeding him because he gags and he makes these faces that make me feel like I'm torturing him. It's just awful. I mean, really, honestly, truly, it is awful. On the rare occasion that he does like something, it just fills my heart with so much joy and happiness because I'm just like, it's so satisfying whenever you've been struggling with something as a parent and you've been trying to like meet this milestone and like get your baby to like adjust to something, and they do it, you're just like, oh my god, it's like such a huge relief. But it usually doesn't last. Like I'll give him something one day and he'll just like eat it up, and then the next day he doesn't want anything to do with it. It's definitely a huge struggle and something that I'm having a really hard time working through, but hopefully with patience and persistence, we will get through it. Next question up is, what are some things that you've done to help you adjust to motherhood? So everybody's different, obviously, when it comes to motherhood and their journey. But for me personally, I just learned really early on that The best thing for me to do for myself and my baby is to know that I need to be able to adapt and constantly be able to adapt, because babies are constantly changing, their needs are constantly changing, their behavior is constantly changing. I could either get really stuck in the mentality of like, why is this happening? Why is my baby doing this? Why this and why that? Or I can just kind of go with the flow. So just like I was saying that he's a terrible sleeper, there was a point in time whenever he was like 4 or 5 months old where I was like, I can either fight this or I can just kind of go with it. We were struggling with getting him to sleep, also to get him to do tummy time. I was literally in the living room with him and we'd sit out on the floor, we'd camp out on the floor, I would strip him down naked because that was the only way that he would do tummy time. I'd put a pad under him in case he peed. I would just let him roll all over the floor naked and I just kind of went with it. I was like, this is a moment in time and it's gonna pass. And when it does, it's gonna feel great, but for now, we're just gonna kind of sit in it, you know? I try not to put too much pressure on myself because at the end of the day, I don't think your kid needs you to be perfect. I think they need you to be happy. So I constantly remind myself of that and it really does help. When I feel like I'm not doing enough and I feel inadequate, I'm like, he doesn't need you to be perfect. He just needs you to be happy. He needs you to be there. So yeah, we were camping out on the floor. I swear, as soon as we started doing that, he was refusing tummy time, and the first thing I noticed was he was way more chill. I was way more relaxed. He started doing tummy time really well, and then he like turned over in like a week, and within a week he was like flipping over from his tummy to his back to his back to his tummy and like rolling to get to me and stuff. It was a huge change from before where I was like really struggling and like trying to get him to sleep early and like failing and just like getting frustrated. So yes, a huge saving grace for me in my mothering journey has been to kind of just go with the flow. In whatever situation that I'm in, I just try to remind myself that it's a passing moment, whether it's good or it's bad. And that helps me like cherish moments, like the good moments more, because I remind myself like this isn't gonna last, and so I just like cherish it even more. And then in the hard moments, I'm like, this isn't gonna last, and it just makes it have a lot less pressure. We just generally were able to enjoy our time with Ehsan a lot more, because when we would go out and stuff like that, I wasn't worried about him crying, because I was just like, okay, worst case scenario, he cries a lot, we leave. We take the food to go and we go home and we eat it at home, and it's nothing to really fret about. What's something you wish you knew before becoming a mother? So motherhood's a lot different than what I anticipated for it to be. I think the biggest thing that threw me off guard is how attached I am to my son. I've always been a very loving and nurturing and like attached person, but I just never could have fathomed how attached I am to my son. I mean, when we brought him home for the first like 4 months, I couldn't be in a different room than him. I didn't want anyone else to give him a bottle. I even had some hang-ups about starting solids for him because it was so hard for me to let go of being the only one to feed him. And like, I felt like I was losing a really big part of my joy. I'm also surprised that I just don't need that much time away from him. I mean, honestly, like, I sleep with him, I have him pretty much all day, I shower with him, I do everything with him, and I'm always like waiting for it to be like, okay, I'm tired of doing this, and like, I don't want to do this. And there are days where I'm like, I just kind of want to like just take a shower and not like have to like play with him or like do something with him, and like I want to be able to just like kind of focus on like myself. I'm really surprised that they're few and far between. I really did think that I was gonna want a lot more personal time, and the attachment that I have to him is sometimes just really intense to where it's almost overwhelming, and I never would have expected that. Before I got pregnant, or even while I was pregnant, my big concern was that I was gonna want a lot of free time and a lot of time to myself, and I wasn't going to be able to get it. Instead, it was like, don't take my baby. I want my baby in my room. Like, sometimes my husband will get on my case because he'll want me to sleep, and he'll take the baby and he's like, you sleep, and I'm like, I have a hard time being away from him. It's hard for me to sleep when he's not there, and it's just so interesting to me that literally my biggest concern is something that is like the total polar opposite to what I expected. Definitely not saying that like, I'm like, oh, you have to love every single moment, because there are definitely times where I'm just like, this is hard and I'm tired and I need a break, but it's not something that like I'm desperate for. And I have found a lot of ways to adjust so that I can still enjoy my own time and have Esson there too. The last question I'm going to answer is, what is my favorite part about becoming a mom, or what is my favorite part of motherhood? There really are so many things. Honestly, the good outweighs the bad like tenfold. There are even things that I didn't expect for them to be enjoyable to me that I really truly find enjoyable. It blows my mind that I'm really different than what I thought I was going to be. Like, I love having my baby with me like all the time. It's just insane to me. Honestly, sometimes I'm just like, who am I? What have I become? Like, who are you? I always knew I was going to be a very nurturing mom, but I never expected to just be like, so attached to my baby. Aside from all the, you know, typical things that you love about motherhood, you know, the bonding, the cuddling, the sweetness, the cuteness of your baby, watching your baby do new things, and just their general presence. My favorite thing about becoming a mom is how much it's changed me as a person and how much I've evolved as a person. I can 100% say that I'm a better person after becoming a mom than I was before. Not that I wasn't a good person, but I just feel like I'm constantly looking to better myself and improve, and I just have so much more drive and meaning in the things that I do. Even mundane things, I find so much more purpose in them, and I feel like every little thing that I do just has so much more meaning and intention behind it. Everything that used to make me happy before just makes me so much more happy. And it really has taught me to take a step back and like appreciate the small things in life and just soak up moments. I love the bond that I have with my mom. It's increased so much because now like I really know how it feels to just like love your child, and I know how much she loves me, and that just makes me love her all the more. And I just look back and I see all the things that she did for me. Now when I look back on my childhood, I really do focus and see all those good things, because I know how hard it is to be a mom, and I know how hard it is to make the right decisions, and you're constantly wondering if you're doing the right thing. And I really appreciate my mom for doing all the things that she did for me. And I understand it. I really understand a mother's love and what it takes. I also really love that now that me and my sisters are all mothers, we come together, we kind of just like, we have our children, and like we can bond over like our motherhood experience. It's so funny because sometimes we'll be like at a birthday party or out somewhere, and we all like kind of come together, and like me and my sister will be like nursing our children together and just kind of like talking and chilling. It's like we have a little club. So yeah, I would say to kind of like wrap that up in a pretty bow, my quality of life has improved so much since becoming a mom, beyond what I could even have imagined. And my heart is just so much bigger. Thank you to everyone for your questions, and thank you for watching. Again, happy Mother's Day. Stay safe and well. Love your baby. Know that you're doing an amazing job. Until next time, bye.